you can never forget that honesty is always the best policy, no matter how cliche that sounds. Nobody could hate on your honesty if you honestly are coming from a good place, an honest place. Nobody could hate on that, but they can hate on the fact that you avoid it.
Yes.
So pick your poison. Welcome everybody to the Behind the Strength podcast. My name is Carlo
I'm
Balagasse.
Christian Alvarez. Welcome back, everybody. Today, we are going to be speaking about people who have a problem saying no, or who have a problem saying, turning somebody down, or even for people who have a problem with the canceling appointments. I mean, we face this a lot in this industry.
And I think it's running more rampant now because of the whole social media thing. And what I mean by that is it's so easy to kind of hide from, the onus of the responsibility. I mean,
Yes.
so it's easy to kind of just cut people off or not respond. You know, a lot of times when people look at their text messages, they're like, oh, they act like they didn't see it. So it's kind of that avoidance thing,
Well,
right?
remember in our day in high school, it was like that's when I started seeing, or you started seeing, like, people break up over text, no longer speaking.
Yeah.
Now they probably do it over Instagram or Facebook.
Oh, man,
I've heard of people do that over Facebook from my nephew and them. Like, it's crazy.
People are breaking up over social media.
Yeah, man, I've heard that before. You gotta
That's
talk
some
to the high school kids out here.
bullshit.
They will tell you, man. These guys are notorious these days for that.
And I'm sure if you are on the receiving end of this, it sucks. How would you feel if the moment you woke up, you get a notification on
Notification.
Facebook? You got broken up by notification. You got notified, motherfucker.
Oh man, okay. That is
And-
definitely not a cool feeling.
Yeah, so why do you think people avoid these tough conversations or avoid responsibilities sometimes?
So I think it's a lack of communication that we have as a society to begin with. I mean, from a lot of times child rearing, we're taught don't answer back, and we're not saying, like, don't answer back, don't speak unless you're spoken to, don't speak out, just listen to your elders and adults. So I think from growing up, a lot of children or a lot of people weren't even taught to speak up for themselves, communicate how they feel, or openly say something, whether it leaves a bad taste in your mouth or whether you like or dislike something. Because we were taught as a society, hey, your opinion doesn't really matter. Just wait till you're spoken to, okay? But anyway, if you've ever faced something like this before, even if you've been on the other end of it and say you've stood your therapist up or an appointment, or you just didn't cancel, or you just are not comfortable with communicating those things, or especially having the tougher conversations, we find this all the time. This is the biggest reason why people stand each other up. Like they stand people up, or I stand up my trainer.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
I had an appointment with him. I stood him up, and I just couldn't effectively communicate, or did not want to, what I was feeling at the time. So, or what was happening to me.
I think the biggest problem and the biggest reason why people do that is because they want to avoid awkwardness.
Yes.
They want to avoid the responsibility of actually telling somebody why they're canceling or not able to make it, even if it's a bullshit reason, right?
I also believe that a lot of it has to do with fear of the outcome.
Fear of the outcome, absolutely.
Right? Fear of the outcome. Like, is this person going to blast me? Are they going to judge me? Are they going to... Well, think about it this way. If you cancel on me last minute as an appointment, not a problem. I can handle that. You can cancel on me. Now, if you stand me up, I'm going to judge you even harder.
That's what I'm saying. Like, isn't it even worse if you do not communicate and you just don't show up? That actually deteriorates your character now.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying, but a lot of people don't realize that. And from there, you just dig yourself into a bigger grave, so to speak, over and over again, because now your character to these people are now going down slightly more. And we've had such things, because I've seen trainers in this industry where they stood their clients up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And their respect and their, their name started to go down because they couldn't effectively communicate. Not even just in a momentary cancellation, but effectively communicate. This is what's happening in my life right now, and I am not quite all there. I think a good start is there.
I think what people forget is that the moment you start fracturing the trust between you and another individual, it's the moment where your relationship starts to crumble. And even if as small as not showing up or avoiding certain things and not being able to communicate certain things because you're scared of the outcome, it will first of all, if it's a real relationship matter, it's going to start crumbling your relationship internally. There's going to be a lot of frustration, a lot of malice behind your movements, because if you can't communicate your frustrations with somebody because you want to avoid the problems, it's gonna come out in other ways.
Yes.
Right? So that's number one. Number two, you're gonna start losing respect from people.
Oh, 1,000%.
Because now, if Christian keeps telling me that he's gonna come over my house, for instance, as simple as that, and he just doesn't show up, and then we're going to the club, for instance, or the bar, and he's like, "Okay, I'll meet you guys there," and he doesn't show up. Next time, we're just gonna be like, Christian is not reliable.
Yeah, so let's just not call
Let's
this
not
guy.
invite him.
Let's just not invite him.
And other things, and more grander things, more things that matter. For instance, like if we're gonna open another business or there's gonna be a great opportunity, Christian won't be in my first of mind because we know that, hey, this guy never shows up
Yeah,
or avoids.
he's just
everything.
a character that is unreliable.
Yes.
They don't say for whatever it's related to. You're just going to be pegged overall as an unreliable character.
So when it comes down to it, if you're the person who continuously does this, do you want that name? Do you even know? The toughest part too is that a lot of times nobody's gonna say anything to you. You're just gonna be blacklisted without people telling you.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Because and a lot of times people are already, they try not to even communicate with you about how you are or whatever. Or it's already tough for people to communicate. Now, as your character starts to go down and you're missing appointments and you're not even showing up for people anymore, your character's really in the hole now. You're not going to realize that. And how far that they're already thinking of you, like you're already gone from this. You're always digging yourself into a bigger grave, as I just said, and it's very hard to notice it because they're not going to tell you. It's very late by the time you've noticed it, where you've already tarnished a relationship, or anything potential, like where you've already tarnished your character, right? So
yeah, you can never forget that honesty is always the best policy, no matter how cliche that sounds. Nobody could hate on your honesty. If you honestly are coming from a good place, an honest place, nobody could hate on that. But they can hate on the fact that you avoid shit.
yes.
So pick your poison.
It's funny because from the time that children are being raised, they've been taught the word no. No, don't do this. No, don't do that. But we've never actually been taught by our parents how to say no properly to somebody else or how to turn someone down properly. And I think a lot of that is where a lot of this stems from. Because when you're growing up, they'll say, no, you don't do this. No, don't do that. No explanation of anything, right? Most of the time, no. I mean, I've seen parents now and they'll be like, no, don't do that because this is hot. You're going to burn yourself type of thing. What they think is this child's not going to understand anyway, so I'm just going to say no. Quick no is good.
Yeah.
But now you're not teaching the repercussions of what may happen, or you're not telling them, hey, you shouldn't do this because so-and-so, or I am telling you no because of these outcomes, right?
So really an explanation, getting them used to explaining their position.
Yes, and I find where we go wrong as a society is as you're bringing up a child, or as we're bringing up children around us, we're not giving them the chance to, like, I'm not saying they should be treated as adults, but they should be taught, perspective and all that kind of stuff in life. Like, you should actually talk to them as if they had a brain, because they do.
Well, that's important part too, because you're essentially raising these kids to be good adults.
To become effective communicators.
Yeah.
Right? Because
you could get ahead in life dramatically.
Just if
communicator.
and if you've seen the people who raise children with effective communication, that child just soars.
Yeah.
That child just soars, because then they can effectively say to people, hey, this is my ideals, this is what I like, this is what I want. They can voice themselves, and no, I don't like that.
Do you think a part of it too is lack of self-confidence too?
The lack of self-confidence comes from that, I believe.
Right? Because think about it. Why would I avoid saying, like, having a hard conversation with you, if I know that my position is strong and there's nothing wrong with my opinion, is it you're afraid that of the backlash that's going to happen, the consequence that's going to happen from it,
Well-
everything that you're playing in your mind that could happen?
Of course, and like I said, the lack of confidence came from the way you were brought up to begin with. Because if you were never taught to speak for yourself or how to speak for yourself, then you're not gonna have the confidence to say anything as you get older.
Or if you even made a small opinion,
Yeah.
you got shut down right away.
You got
for
shut
talking out of
down.
turn, or
Yeah.
hey, I'm the adult here.
Watch
kind
your
of thing.
position.
Watch your position, child.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as you're growing up now, guess what's gonna be in your head? Anytime I say something, it's not gonna go well anyway. I might as well just not say anything.
Another thing that you actually touch upon is if you don't tell somebody, if you don't effectively communicate that you're unhappy with somebody's actions, not just avoid a pre-organized kind of meeting or something. When you actually don't have the courage to tell somebody that they might be hurting you in
Yes.
some way,
Yep.
that you don't like the way they've been treating other people, for instance,
Yeah, that's a huge one
Right?
too. Yeah.
and then you start internalizing that,
Well,
and that's dangerous.
look at the relationship between a lot of managers, so to speak, managers or bosses or whatever, and staff and employees. There is really no communication in a lot of times, and the reason why we've worked so well to with these guys to be like, hey, when we say open door, I mean we're gonna sit down and we're gonna talk about shit.
Yeah.
I'm not saying open door. I'm gonna wait for you to come in. I'm saying open doors, and we're gonna sit down. We're gonna talk about things that you don't like and I don't like, and we're gonna talk about things that we are ideally shooting for. And I think that that in the workplace is missing. I think that in relationships, in intimate relationships are missing. That in friendships is missing.
An open forum of communication where everybody has to accept feedback.
I remember a few months ago, we were having a staff meeting, and I was telling the guys, listen, between you and your client, you should set up ideals for each other, meaning this is what I expect out of you, this is what you expect out of me. Or if there's anything else that you need me to add to your expectations of me, please do so. I guarantee everybody listening out there right now, if you do that with every person you care about, okay, and I mean this, do that with every person you care about, and it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to become more and more comfortable the more you do it. But at first, it's going to be fucking tough as shit. But if you do that, I guarantee you these people will still be in your life 10 years later.
Yeah, because now you've clearly defined your boundaries, clearly defined your expectations on how much I'm willing to go in this relationship. And it really opens up the commitment level. Like, hey, this is our relationship here.
Yes.
This is what I'm capable of in our relationship.
Yes.
So A, you don't ask them for things that they can't accomplish.
Yeah.
And B, so you could actually hold them accountable when time comes. Like, yo, you said that you were able to do this, man.
That's very right.
What happened to that conversation?
And it becomes a lot more realistic. I mean, realistic as in my expectation of you and your expectation of me, because now you're not expecting this person to go a long mile away to what they were originally said. This is how much of myself I can give to this relationship, whether it be a friendship, whether it be an intimate relationship, whether it be a business relationship, whether it be an employee, a staff. Guys, if it's a person to person thing, it's a relationship.
And you could also avoid those unbalanced relationships. The ones that you feel you're doing more for the relationship than the other person, that
Yep.
the other person is always taking
Yep.
and you're always giving.
Yeah.
And then how does it end? It always ends in a bad way.
Yes.
Because you're not going to say anything when that person does that. Then when they do it again, you're not going to say anything. And then again, not say anything. And yet, guess what happens? You just stop communicating.
Yeah.
And then
Very much so.
you're talking shit about that person behind that person's back. This person doesn't even know that you're angry.
Your
or
animosity is-
there's
yeah,
animosity
yeah, for
there
sure.
because it's been happening that way for so long, and you just put a face up, just saying, "Oh, okay, whatever. Let's brush it off this time. Brush it off this time."
Yes.
And
Yes.
then you're allowing this person to do it. So this right here will give you some tips on how to kind of break that. Having the courage to tell somebody what you want and how you feel.
Yeah, take a look at this for example. Going out to bars or clubs or whatever it is, a lot of people don't even know how to turn the other gender down or same gender, whatever it is. But say if somebody's, trying to talk to you, they're trying to get your number, they're trying to get to know you, whatever, there's a proper way to say no or to turn somebody down ethically without offending them.
Of course.
Even
But the
if
person asking has to be approached properly too.
1000%. They have to approach
Yeah,
properly too.
yeah.
Even as much as a sales offer, a sales call, guys, there's a proper way to say no to those things. They're human too, right? Yes, they are trying to get a sale out of you, and that's essentially their job. But there's an ethical way to say no. There's an ethical way to turn someone down, right? And again, that comes with your comfortability in communication, first and foremost,
Yes.
right?
Okay, so step 1.
So what's the plan? So number one is set the environment up properly.
What does that mean?
So set the space up. First of all, neutral is always best for both people. You don't want to be in a dominant space, or you don't want them to be in a dominant space. So somewhere neutral. Somewhere neutral. If you're gonna have a tough conversation, a hard conversation, set it somewhere neutral.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to a friend's house to have a conversation and that's their kind of power position, that environment is conducive to kind of set them up for success, and it's really it's their positioning that's advanced. You'd want to kind of maybe meet in a more quieter place that's neutral. Maybe, I don't know, a park.
Yeah. A coffee shop.
It gives you an openness, or sorry, more private setting. Maybe pick a bench that's away from a lot of people. That way, there's no power on both sides. It's all neutral. You could have an open conversation.
And that way too, yeah, both sides are more comfortable, and you kind of break that energy of wherever you are. So it's kind of a little bit more out of the norm, and it's you can actually focus on what you're speaking about.
Yeah, setting the tone here in the environment is very, very important and very overlooked a lot of times.
Yeah, if it's an appointment you're trying to cancel, I would suggest calling first as opposed to them calling you, because by then you already don't want to pick up.
Yeah.
If it's a breakup, please don't do it over social media.
No, again.
Or text.
So, breakups, make sure you do it in person. Obviously, you have to do it in person. If you're with somebody for a period of time, respect that person enough to do it in person. And it gives you the opportunity to now be comfortable in openness and open conversations with everybody.
Yes.
So if you condition yourself to always hide, I guarantee you, doing it in relationships not the only thing. You're doing it in every
aspect of your life.
Every aspect of your life.
And therefore, you're never really maximizing yourself anyway, right? Number two, identify clearly the outcome that you want. Okay? Before you even have this conversation, already have it in your head. What do I want as an outcome? How do I communicate this outcome to this person? Right? Understand who you're talking to is very important as well. The type of personality. Yes, the audience.
The audience. Understanding your audience is very important. But knowing the outcome that you want, so you could actually, think about the points of communication points that you want to hit when you have this conversation with people.
Well, you know what? Especially when the outcome, when we say identify the outcome, identify your outcome, and you definitely want to know theirs too. It's not fair if you're only suggesting your outcomes and what you want out of the conversation. It's very good to clear both sides and to make sure that everything is there. So
yeah, you want to leave it in a balanced type of way.
Yes.
You don't want them taking more from it than you, and you don't want to be the one taking more from them.
Hence
as well.
A neutral location to begin with, to start, right?
Because at the end of the day, we are human beings, and human beings are very social creatures. We thrive on it. Take us away from a social environment and we crumble.
Yes.
So you want to make sure that all your relationships are always good. You always want to leave it good or respectable.
Yep.
If this person, you have to cut them off, at least you leave it in a respectable way. There's no animosity, not for them, but for you. So you could have good energy, and it doesn't weigh on your mind all the time.
Yep.
Because that gets stressful too.
Yes. Number 3, it's not just about what you say, it's about how you say it.
Yeah.
Please remember the delivery. Delivery is everything. Your tonality is everything. There's a certain way you can turn someone down. There's a certain way you can say something without necessarily offending a person.
I'm guilty for this sometimes.
I'm guilty for it all the time. Are you
Especially
kidding me?
in relationships.
Yeah.
Right? When me and my wife get at it sometimes, I know I shout, and which I really need to work on.
Same.
It is hard. It's very hard, especially
Same.
when when it's a very emotional conversation.
Well, that's the
It's
hardest
hard.
part is because we allow the emotion to overturn us to begin with. It kind of it takes it becomes you. It becomes your body and everything that you're thinking about. So then by the time you're there and you're in the heat of the moment, you're not going to stop yourself and think, right? But I mean, if you follow these guidelines, you're most likely not get to that point anyway.
I mean, that's why it's very important to identify your outcome. So
Yeah.
that the fact that you're thinking about the outcome, you're thinking about the solution, the resolve to it, it kind of calms you down a bit more because you know where you want to go.
Of course.
Right? You're not just radical, and you're not in the state of you're just trying to give your opinions
Of course.
give your standpoint.
Of
Because
course.
that's how things end up, right?
Yep.
Arguments. Oh, but you do this to me. I don't like it when you do this. I don't like it when you do this. It's almost like a venting session where
Yes.
you're just telling them everything you hate about them or everything you don't like
Yes.
about how they're acting towards you.
Yes.
Which is not a good thing because at the end of the day, you want to resolve the issue. You don't want to just, let the issues rise to the top and leave it there.
Yeah, because that's not really resolving anything. If you're just kind of putting blame on the other person and saying, you do this, I don't like it. You do this, I don't like that. That's not communication.
No.
You're literally venting.
So avoid that.
Yeah.
And, that will help in this case in terms of tonality, your delivery.
Yeah, for sure.
It'll help set the tone for that delivery.
And last but not least, make sure you put everything out on the table. You definitely want to don't leave anything unturned. So meaning don't walk away and be like, oh man, I should have said that too. I should have explained that, or I should have communicated that. Go into there. If you're going in there with a plan and an outcome, make sure you say what you have to say and you say all your expectations and whatever. Don't all of a sudden walk away and be like, oh, by the way, I didn't tell you last time that, right? So it's definitely something that you should think about prior to is if you're going to think about your delivery and what you're going to say, you should think about everything you're going to say.
And on top of that, too, you'll start to avoid subsequent issues pretty much.
Yeah.
When you're always when you continue the argument all the time,
Yeah.
but you did this and that, you didn't do this. It's like, hey, I thought you were supposed to tell me that the last conversation we had.
Right.
Don't bring it up again.
Right.
If everything is left on the table, then it shouldn't be. It should be left there or taken directly off. If you want to kind of have a clean slate, you don't want to keep bringing up issues from the past because it's not fair. First of all.
Yeah, for sure. Of course. So put everything else out there. When you're going in there, make sure you make all your points and make it clear. And be sure that you give the other person their opportunity. Truthfully, maybe you might want to give the other person their opportunity to speak first. Because sometimes hearing them out will cover a lot of stuff that you were about to say. It really does, right?
Yep.
The hard part with this now, too, is if the other person doesn't have the same communication understanding as you do, then number one, get them to listen to this episode. Number two, put your best foot forward. Follow these rules, set your best foot forward, and believe me, the outcome is going to be a lot better than what it would have been had you negated the situation, avoided it, been ignorant to the fact, or just totally, forgot about it.
Yeah, people will start respecting you way more in life.
The fact that you
You'll
addressed it.
start become more credible, and people will actually they'll kind of you'll magnetize a lot of people because they'll be like, okay, this guy or girl is authentic.
Yes.
Like he's willing to have hard conversations with me, but he's also a good person. Like you can't deny somebody like that.
At the end of the day, like if you follow these rules of what we call effective communication, you'll not only obviously have a better communication level of skill or skills of communication, but your quality of life overall ends up getting better. Your relationships get better.
Yep.
And therefore, just everything just starts to come together. Like it really does help out, right?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
promise you that.
I mean, really good relationships will flourish, and bad relationships you could end.
Will disintegrate, yeah.
And your quality of life will
The
be
quality
significantly
of
better.
life will be significantly better.
And when these things start to happen, those bad dragging relationships will just start to vanish themselves
1000%.
because you're honest.
Yep.
So
Anyway, thank you everybody for listening. If you got something out of this episode, please refer us to somebody else that would obviously benefit from it. Share this with someone, and don't just share it and just be like tag it. Just say something how you got a benefit out of it.
Yep.
Our goal is to reach as many people as we can. That's why we started this podcast to begin with. If you have any questions, comments, emails, please
Email us at bts@strengthenyou.com. That's Bobby, Tara, Sandy at strength-u.com. You can email us with any questions that you may have, any topics you want us to cover in the future, and we'll answer them. We'll do some sessions here. We'll do some episodes where we answer some questions.
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah,
We'll do that.
Yeah, definitely.
And we'll shout you out. We'll make sure that we deliver all the content that you want. And so just keep us updated. Let us know what you want. And thank you so much for watching.
Thank you for watching. I'm Christian Alvarez.
And I'm Carlo Bellagase.